The world had ended quietly, not with a bang but with the sound of shuffling feet. Decades after the virus had torn through humanity, turning neighbors into monsters, cities into ghost towns, the earth had fallen into a gray slumber. Buildings crumbled under their own forgotten weight, nature clawed back through concrete, and the sky itself seemed paler, as if mourning the loss of the human race. But deep inside the ruins of old New York, where vines twisted up abandoned skyscrapers and rivers flowed over cracked streets, a strange new chapter was beginning. Among the sea of the undead, hollow-eyed, slack-jawed, groaning through instinct alone, there was one boy who had not forgotten what it meant to care. His name, once shouted proudly across basketball courts and whispered in secret crushes, was Leo. Now he was something in between, not fully human, not fully lost. His skin was grayish, his voice raspy, but in his clouded mind, small fires still burned, memories, emotions, something more than just the mindless hunger that drove the rest. One afternoon, while the others trudged southward chasing some faint scent of survival, Leo stood still in a sunbeam that cut through the collapsing roof of a library. Dust sparkled in the light, pages of old books fluttered like trapped spirits, and for the first time in years, Leo thought, not of food, not of death, but of a girl he once knew named Mara. Somewhere in the ruins he was sure she was alive. Or at least he needed to believe it. Because if Mara was still out there, if even one real human heart still beat, then maybe he wasn't just a monster after all. Driven by a hope he couldn't explain, Leo turned away from the herd and began walking toward the heart of the dead city. Every step was a fight against the screaming hunger inside him, but a deeper hunger, for meaning, for connection, pushed him on. Mara, meanwhile, was surviving. Barely. She lived in a makeshift home built atop an old shopping mall, fortified with scrap metal and surrounded by homemade alarms. Every day was a battle against loneliness, sickness, and the occasional rogue zombie that found its way too close. Over the years, she had watched the last human she knew either die or simply vanish into the unknown. The weight of survival, the crushing silence of a world with no laughter, no music, no touch, had made her hard and sharp, like a blade honed too thin. She didn't dream anymore. She didn't even allow herself to hope. Hope, she had learned, was a kind of slow poison. Better to live moment to moment, breath to breath, than to imagine a future that would never come. That was until one evening when the alarms clanged and the watchlights flashed. Mara grabbed her crossbow, heart pounding. She peered through the sniper slit she had built into the mall's facade, and froze. There, in the parking lot flooded with weeds and broken cars, stood a zombie unlike any she had seen before. He wasn't stumbling mindlessly. He wasn't groaning for flesh. He was waiting. Looking up at her with eyes that, though clouded and wounded, held something unmistakable, recognition. Fear warred with curiosity inside her. She aimed the crossbow squarely at his heart, her finger trembling on the trigger. But then the zombie, no, the boy, did something no undead creature should have been able to do. Slowly, almost painfully, he reached into the tattered pocket of his hoodie and pulled out a crumpled, dirty photo. He held it up in both hands, offering it to the light. Even from her perch, Mara could see what it was. A photo of two kids, arms around each other, grinning into a long-forgotten summer sun. Herself. And Leo. She gasped, the sound loud and alien in her throat. Memories she had locked away rushed back with dizzying force. Leo, her best friend since kindergarten. Leo, who had stayed behind to protect the younger kids when the first outbreaks tore through their school. Leo, who had promised, "I'll find you. No matter what." She lowered her weapon, breath coming in sharp sobs. Could it really be him? Could a zombie still remember a promise made in another lifetime? Her heart screamed at her to run, to hide, to survive. But another part, the broken, hurting part that still yearned for love, for connection, for anything real, made her climb down from the roof. Every step toward Leo felt like stepping off a cliff. At the base of the mall, she approached cautiously, weapon still drawn but pointed at the ground. "Leo?" she whispered, voice raw from disuse. His cracked lips moved but no sound came out. Instead, he pressed the photo against his chest and then held it toward her again as if to say, "See? I didn't forget." Mara's eyes flooded with tears. Against every instinct, against every lesson survival had burned into her bones, she stepped forward and took the photo from his hands. His skin was cold, rough like sandpaper, but he didn't attack. He simply stood there, trembling slightly as though just standing so close to her was a massive effort. "You remember?" she choked out. Leo gave the smallest, almost imperceptible nod. It was enough. It was everything. Without knowing why, Mara dropped her crossbow and threw her arms around him. For a terrifying second she thought he would bite, that the monster inside him would win. But instead, Leo just sank to his knees, clinging to her, sobbing dry, broken sobs that echoed across the empty lot. For the first time in years, Mara believed. If even one zombie could remember love, maybe humanity wasn't truly lost after all. The days that followed were a strange, beautiful, and terrifying blur. Mara brought Leo inside the mall, where she carefully, painstakingly set up a quarantine zone made of thick plexiglass walls, salvaged from the remains of the shattered mall stores, so that they could be near each other without risking infection. Leo, it turned out, still needed to eat but not human flesh. Somehow the virus inside him had mutated, allowing him to survive on raw plants, roots, and sometimes spoiled meat, though it made him violently ill. Mara scoured the overgrown food courts and abandoned grocery stores for anything she could find. In the soft, flickering light of their broken world, they began to teach each other again. Mara taught Leo words, drawing pictures and acting things out like they were little kids again. Leo in turn showed Mara something she had forgotten: gentleness. Despite the hunger that gnawed at him day and night, despite the physical agony of his half-dead body, he never hurt her. He never once lunged or growled. Instead, he would sit on the floor, hunched over, tracing her shadow with trembling fingers, as if memorizing the shape of her humanity. Days turned into weeks. Against all odds, Mara found herself smiling again. Laughing even. It wasn't the carefree laughter of the old world, it was ragged, fragile, stitched together from sorrow and stubbornness, but it was laughter nonetheless. Slowly they began rebuilding not just shelter but hope. Other survivors, drawn by the light and noise, began to arrive. First 2, then 5, then a dozen. Many were wary, even violent when they saw Leo. Some tried to kill him. But Mara stood in front of him, arms spread wide, and told them the truth. Leo had saved her. Leo had remembered. And if a creature the world had given up on could still choose kindness, then so could they. Some believed. Some didn't. But enough stayed. Together, this ragtag new family patched the mall into something resembling a village. They grew rooftop gardens, rigged up solar panels, purified rainwater. They began to dream again. And at the center of it all was Leo, the boy who should have been a monster but chose instead to be a bridge. In time, others like Leo appeared, half-zombies caught between worlds, remembered by the sheer force of love, friendship, or unfinished promises. The line between human and monster blurred. The survivors learned that not all zombies were mindless. Some were trapped, lonely, aching for connection but lost in their own bodies. Mara spearheaded efforts to help them, teaching the others what Leo had taught her: that compassion was stronger than fear. That redemption was possible even at the end of the world. The mall became a beacon, a place where the last sparks of humanity rekindled into a fire. Children were born who had never known the world before, but they knew laughter and music and stories of a boy who remembered love when all else was lost. One evening, under a sky thick with stars, Mara sat beside Leo on the cracked rooftop, an old guitar in her lap. Her fingers stumbled over the strings, rusty from years of silence, but Leo hummed along. Not words, just the memory of them. It was enough. It was everything. As the music drifted into the night, carrying with it all their hope and hurt and stubborn joy, Mara leaned her head against Leo's shoulder. His skin was still cool, his heart beat slow and uneven, but it beat. It beat. And in that broken, beautiful moment, Mara realized that the end of the world hadn't been the end of humanity. Not really. As long as there was memory, as long as there was forgiveness, as long as there was love, even between the living and the lost, humanity would never truly die. In a world that had fallen to ruin, they had found something stronger than death. They had found each other.